Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Sphons CCW Live Show, brought to you by, of course, Sphons CCW, this and that distribution.com, and the Minerva Sportsmans Club. We got some cool stuff for you tonight. First thing we do is going to check out the class schedule. I'm trying to run three things at once here, so turn my phone down so that we got an idea of what's going on. Class schedule. March 7th, we have a concealed carry coming up. We have some room in that one. 3/28, we have a class coming up. That one has a few spots left, not many. So if you want in on the 28th class, then you better get over to the website, sponsccw.com, and get yourself signed up for that. 4/26, we have another concealed carry class coming up. That one has got a lot of room left, so if you want something there, get on over to the website and do that. 5/16 is a concealed carry basic pistol. 5/17 is instructor. If you're wanting to sign up for the instructor or attending the pistol instructor workshop, then you must attend both days. It is also up on our website if you want to get signed up for that. 5:30, we are going to have the opening summer basic rifle and carbine class, and 5:31 is going to be rifle instructor. So if you want to get in on that, head over to the website. And then July 11th and 12th, we have personal protection in the home. That could be used as a qualification for concealed carry if you're a more advanced individual and want to take something that's a little more involved in the basic pistol to get your concealed carry. You could do that. If you've already taken basic pistol and you want to focus on, home protection and getting ready for the home, that is kind of the class for you. Once again, the description's on our website. If you want to become a personal protection and home instructor, then you can sign up for that on the 12th. You must attend both days, 7/11 and 7/12, for your instructor rating. So if that's something you want to get involved in or are already involved in, then just take note, you got to attend both days. What do we got coming up? We got a Circle X shoot coming up on the 1st, right?
Yep, that's Sunday.
So down at Minerva Sportsman's Club, we have a Circle X shoot coming in, 1 to 4. Bring the family, bring some friends. The
Extra shells. We're going to shoot some birds.
Yeah, we're going to shoot some birds. We always have a lot of fun doing that. It's kind of a low-tech event. Bring a shotgun, and that's pretty much the extent of it. And some shells if you want to shoot birds. It's fun, kind of low stress, not real high impact, so anybody can participate. Kids as young as you think are capable of handling their shotgun safely. So if you're wanting to do a little shooting early this spring, then come on down. We're also sponsoring the Hunter Rifle Shoot at the Tusco Valley Rifle Club. It starts in April. The schedule is up on the Tusco Rifle Club's website, so you can head on down there and shoot up to 600 yards is what that shoot is going to be. Actually, the rifle shoot's going to be to 400, and then they also have a 600-yard shoot that you can participate in. The other thing is we do have room for small business spotlights. So if you know somebody with a business that wants to get on the show and talk about their business, then we have room for that. Send us an email at sponsccw@gmail.com, and we will get your small business on the show. So I think I got everything there. You guys got shooting tips and carry tips.
Carry tips. We kind of wanted to go, with the weather being cold, just continue on with that series. Alternative carry methods and modes. And we got some interesting stuff here. I don't know if we've ever tried a lot of it. This is actually what they call a cell phone holster. I'll show it up to you. Clips on your belt, just like the cell phone holder you see everybody carrying their cell phone in. But actually, you can get a small gun in there, and it's got a magnet clip on the front, so it won't fall out. And it's just an alternative way to hide your gun if you don't want to carry it in a regular holster. And I know a lot of people use these, which is actually a pocket holster. These work, I guess, pretty well for like LCPs and small 25s and 22s and stuff like that. And the main thing is it gets the trigger covered. And you always want to get the trigger covered so you don't inadvertently have a gunshot in your pocket. So, and of course you got the old standby, the concealed carry purse. This one's by Bulldog. Got a holster right inside it on the end, lockable. You can reach right in and grab the gun in there. Got a holster inside here. Actually zipper on both sides so you can access it from either side. Got the short strap pretty short right now, but it can be lengthened out so it's over the shoulder. And this does have a steel cable inside the strap, so it can't be cut with a seatbelt cutter like the criminals like to do. And that's another, I know a lot of people have these and they really like them. Not too much on my style, but whatever. I never thought about carrying a purse. Just don't lean that way. And here's another one that some people use. Ankle holsters. And depending on what gun you got, it will depend on the size of the holster. And it's got a Velcro strap that goes around your ankle. And you really got to practice something like this and getting it out in case you need it. A lot of people use these for backup gun. That would be my thought. Considering I'm always carrying a full-size gun on my hip. But if I needed a backup gun, I would. So,
I guess the main thing with all these different carry options that we have available, make sure they're right for you and practice with it. We're always, kind of pounding the drum of you get all dressed up and go to the range in your normal carry gear.
Yeah.
And try it out. You might find something like this works for you. The real issue and the education behind it is you might find something, any one of the options that doesn't work for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Right.
and just knowing the fact that, we kind of, as you said, beat on that drum of, getting undressed up, but all of you out there, there's different modes of carry. You watch a lot of, see a lot of stuff and stuff like that. And the big ones are outside the waistband, inside the waistband. And, we're big fans of that. I like carrying on body, outside I like outside the waistband. It's comfortable for me. It's convenient. It works very well for me. I do carry, a lot of inside the waistband depending upon where I'm going. But everybody's not me. So finding that, knowing to, there's some other modes of carry that you can work into that will get you carrying all the time. And that's kind of the big key is, everywhere the law allows, you should be carrying.
The one thing I want to mention with off-body carry is, if you're going to carry in a bag or something like that, you just have to kind of train yourself. You can't really set that bag down and leave it unattended. That's where a lot of the off-body carry folks will, run into trouble, so to speak, where we want, you want to have constructive control of that thing all the time. The other thing about off-body carry is when you're in the car, I know my wife will set her purse down and you want that thing attached at some point in time or attached to something so that you're not having a projectile that's that heavy, flying around your vehicle.
Yeah.
We got Mr. Budget Guns and Gear Reviews on the call tonight. How you
Hey,
doing?
everybody, how you doing?
I guess the last
How's
one
it
we
going?
got is, of course, the trusty old horizontal shoulder holster. And this, of course, comes with an extra magazine holder. This one here, I guess, has a setup for a revolver. It's got a speed loader holster, so you can put a separate cylinder in there or a speed loader or whatever you need. And all of these have their place in the carry industry, so to speak. And like I said, it's up to you to figure out what works and what doesn't, and then go from there. The main objective is to have your gun with you.
Yeah.
And
You carry everywhere everywhere the law allows. You carry.
how you carry it and can you be effective with it is entirely on your shoulders. So, just odd stuff that we talk about just to get people's minds working. So
Awesome. Good stuff.
And another one, range tip, scenarios. And some people don't quite know what we're talking about when we say scenarios, but you can set up scenarios just by parking your car on the range if you have an outdoor range, and using that for cover, as long as you don't shoot your car, but and using that for cover, concealment, whatever, and then putting a couple targets down range and and making like you're pumping gas or something. We've done that quite a bit, and make like there's people down range of you coming at you, or however you want to set it up. It's just the
I like
purpose-
my car too much to trust
Yeah.
myself with it.
Which one? That little black piece of crap you got?
No, I got that little Hyundai Elantra. Love that car.
Oh,
Yeah, that's kind of a nice car.
yeah.
But the
When the scenarios you can get, you can start off with, real basic and then, build up to real elaborate. And essentially you kind of set up your scenario of building a story behind it. People's brains like to work in, imaginative ways. So you kind of build the story around your scenario of, I'm pumping gas. I'm walking through the mall.
Right.
I'm in in so-and-so's big box store's parking lot, and
Yeah. If you happen to come across a shopping cart somewhere, then you push it around
you
on
can
the range.
you set your scenario up. You can set up even what we used to always call the jazz hands. You draw a trace around two hands onto a target and staple it up, and that's somebody putting their hands up. It's that's a no shoot. You can place them in and out of there. You can put shoot targets, no shoot targets. There's so many things, and it a lot of it just it gets your mind working and kind of lets you play through some of those scenarios of what am I going to do, how am I going to react. Gives a good thing of a lot of times your scenarios, if you're using any kind of cover piece or a car door or a shopping cart or whatever you've got.
Yeah.
It shows you how your gear's going to work too. Of this is my everyday carry gear, but if I've got to get down and kneel behind this doesn't work, and it kind of helps build that whole
Reinforce that.
Reinforce all of
Train
those
with your gear
all
thing.
that training with your gear and what works, what doesn't. Being able to be effective. Can you get down in those positions? Can you move? All of those things, and forces your mind to think on that, and kind of starts adding a little level of stress to your training, which is a good thing.
Yeah, and it gets your mind working on something other than concentrating on fundamentals and sight picture and sight alignment, trigger control, and all that stuff. Where, if you're in a bad situation, you can't concentrate on all your fundamentals. They have to be there first.
Yeah, they need to be intuitive.
Yep. So,
one thing I would like to add is, get creative with your range props. What we find a ton, especially in a lot of defensive scenarios and classes, people will get in tune with working their cover horizontally pretty good, but it kind of falls apart going vertical. And or when you start adding vertical and horizontal angles in there, take a tree for example, or a car. A car is horrible cover to begin with, but there's all kinds of angles going on in there that you got to lean and put your body around. So get creative with your range props. Don't just make them a square piece of plywood or a standard target.
Well, and even on that creativity of even your targets. One thing we've seen is like, if everybody's got that old drawer full of T-shirts that you just can't bear to throw away. Well, shoot at them.
Yeah.
Dress your targets in T-shirts and shoot at them. You would be amazed at how many times you see people that are, great shooters, A-zone shooters, that you throw a T-shirt over it, and now all of a sudden their target zone is occluded, and their shot patterns start opening up, and their group sizes start opening up, and you can't see that, the distinct differences in color on the target, or the perforated lines on an IPSC or stuff like that. You throw an old stained up T-shirt on there, and it also kind of gives you that little bit of that level of realism, because now they're dressed in actual clothes. So
Yeah. Bad guys don't have X's on them.
Nope.
No.
Or square boxes normally.
Yep.
Absolutely not. They do not.
So
And have fun with it.
Yeah. Have fun with it.
Because it's you get a few guys together and you start putting scenarios together with it, and sometimes they might get a little wild. You might end up you're fighting space invaders and part of Space Force, but hey, it gets you out, gets you moving, gets you shooting, gets you doing the working on them things that you need to do. So
that's what I got. Doing product yet? Next.
No, I was going to ask Mike from Budget Guns and Gear if maybe he had a primer for his show tonight.
Can't hear you, Mike.
Looks like his mic quit.
Yeah.
Let me make sure our speakers are on. They are on. No, sir.
Oh, it would help if I hit the mute button, right?
Oh, there we go. I was feeling for you.
That's the preview for my show tonight. I'm a dumbass, and there will be technical difficulties.
I was feeling for you there for a second, thinking,
Mike.
wow, he's going to be like, oh, I got to go because I got to see if I can get this fixed for my show tonight.
No, I just had to, unmute myself.
Yeah, I'm guilty of that too.
For those that don't know me, I'm Mike from Budget Guns and Gear Reviews here on YouTube. I do a show every Friday night, 11:30 p.m. Eastern, called The Right of the People. I like to say that it's where we use the first to defend the second. We'll be talking about the week's Second Amendment-related news and current events. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the atrocity that happened in Milwaukee and how the gunman there is connected with Elizabeth Warren. We'll be talking, maybe that could be why it all of a sudden dropped off the news cycle radar. We'll be talking about how the usual suspects wasted absolutely no time in dancing the blood of innocents to exploit this atrocity to further their own political agenda. We will be talking about how the anti-gunners' new playbook includes red flag laws. And if I am not too tired, worn out, and everybody's not sick of hearing me bloviate by then, we will go through a couple news articles about how Arizona's most populous county became a gun sanctuary, and the bias that's showing from the person that wrote the article, and then how the Department of Justice study shows that there is indeed no gun show loophole. Then we will talk about our contestants for this week's Moron of the Week. And finally, we'll wrap it up with self-defense shout-outs.
Nice.
Awesome.
So
Awesome.
I read an article, and I didn't pull it up for the show tonight, but I read an article that the Supreme Court allowed for the government to go after sanctuary counties in the light of illegal immigrants or sanctuary cities.
Yep.
My concern with that is we've got this Second Amendment sanctuary movement, and I think it's not too much of a stretch for them to say, you know, we did it on one end of the spectrum, maybe we should look at doing it on the other end of the spectrum. It's kind of one of
That's
them,
absolutely what will happen. You're right.
be careful what you wish for because you just might get it type things.
Yep. Everybody crowing and saying how wonderful it is that the counties and cities can't be illegal immigrant sanctuaries. Well, those of us that are wanting to have our counties and cities become Second Amendment sanctuaries had better watch out because, well, guess what they'll do to us?
Yeah.
You know, we stole a page from their book with the sanctuary movement, so they'll steal a page from ours and crushing it.
Yeah.
That's just how it's going to go.
Yep.
Well, hopefully we don't get
No.
get that far, but
Yeah.
Hopefully
not.
we'll get a totally Republican administration again.
Maybe. We'll see. Well, we're going to talk about our self-defense video tonight. And a little primer before we get there. We continually try and pound you guys into this time and distance thing. You know, a couple of the main things that it requires to win any type of self-defense scenario is, you know, the willingness to not give up no matter what, win the fight, and then time and distance. You need time and distance, and you have to use them for yourself. You need time to, you know, develop a plan, initiate that plan, recognize threats, all this stuff that goes into there, and then distance away from your attacker to actually implement that. And they are cumulative. One equals the other. So the farther away you are, more time you got. You know, the closer you are, the less time you got. So we've run through a bunch of defensive videos where people kind of got it wrong, and I wanted to come across one, and I did scroll in Facebook the other day. I came across one where the person got it right, so let's check that out. And I got to get rid of our mugs here shortly. All right, so what we're and I got no backstory behind this, so I have no idea where this video came from, what the backstory is. I'm just concerned with this woman dressed in black in the back. Now, I'll warn everybody, this poor woman dressed in red takes a pretty serious and violent hit. So, here we go. Watch how the woman in the back, she immediately recognizes the threat, starts backing up, draws, and has time to deal with the attacker. I don't like how she keeps dropping the muzzle of her gun and taking it off the attacker, but she does this right. Let's see that again.
Well, and the other thing, she did. I can't see below on the when she actually drew it, but it looks like she did try to be very cognizant of trying to get her muzzle
away from her friend.
Up and away from her friend.
So obviously, this woman's handled a firearm before. She's had some type of decent training. You know, adrenaline takes over at some point in time, but her muzzle's clear of her friend. She went for the gun early and got her hand on it. She backed up to create distance between her and the attacker. We don't have any sound, so I don't know if she told this woman in red that somebody was coming or not. But this is a situation where that particular attacker, when he thought that he had overwhelming force with these two ladies, he was aggressive. As soon as he figures out that
Wrong place.
wrong time, wrong place, he's going to back off. He's not going to be happy about it neither, but we can see that right here. He's like, wait. This woman's going to shoot me, but I still want to complain about it, and then I'm going to walk away. So we continually go through scenarios where it's kind of gotten wrong. But I think in this particular situation, she got that right. I mean, she created distance, she created time, she got access to her firearm early. She didn't have 2 or 3 or 4 attempts to draw the firearm, so it was in a quality piece of equipment. She was muzzle aware, she was trigger finger aware, and she was threat aware all at the same time. So that's just, it builds the whole package. You know what we're trying to convey to everybody that you need to do to successfully defend yourself. Because we all know that firearm usage for defending yourself, in the vast majority of cases, there's never any shots fired.
Yeah, that's the big thing.
Yep.
Yeah, they had
Ended the whole situation with no shots fired.
yeah, ended the whole situation. You know, the woman, the other woman got, looked like a pretty severe punch to the face.
Yeah.
But
Trip to the dentist, I would imagine.
yeah, I'm sure she'd be, pretty bruised up and not feeling real great for, a couple of days. But, the other, the guy that, decided he wanted to start something, he left with no extra holes. The woman did a great job in defending her and her friend. And doesn't have to, as much as we talk about this stuff, she doesn't also have to live with the fact that, that she actually shot somebody.
Right.
So,
exactly.
and now, like we said, we don't know the rest of the story. Hopefully the law enforcement was called and, they had a good, get a good description, turn him in and let him.
Yeah. Call
Yeah,
911.
he looked like a pretty decent sized guy. So hand to hand, I don't think these two ladies had.
They didn't have a chance against hand to hand against.
No, especially not after a blindside hit like that to the first one.
Took out the first one right now.
Yeah.
And that's the criminal's MO is to come in from the blind side where you're not looking and attack violently and effectively to, stun and disable the victim and then do what they want to do. So, kudos to
When
this.
in the beginning of the video, she kind of seemed like she thought maybe like the spidey sense was going, like the dig is up on something here, something's going on, and he come around and kind of started heading towards the first woman, and she kind of reached to where she was carrying, and then as soon as everything happened, she backed up. I mean, backed up, looked like it was a hallway behind her, like backed up. She started backing out as far as she could.
Yeah, got the job done.
Yeah, absolutely.
It got the job done. I wish I had some more backstory on this, but I don't. So
At one time I did, but I can't remember what it is. I've seen this video before, and I pretty much agree with what you guys are saying. She had the presence of mind, first off, to see that something was happening, and then to act. And she put herself so far ahead of the curve there that it isn't funny. I mean, that's better than 90% of people do.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, the way it was.
The action is much faster than reaction in any sense of the word. So
yeah, and the forced normalization, you could see it on her face as soon as she started looking at this guy coming around the corner. She's backing up.
Yeah,
it's like, okay,
there's bad stuff happening.
Yeah, there's bad stuff happening. So.
Bad stuff happening. So awesome. That's a good one.
Yep.
So now we got some news. We got a little bit of news. Let me see if I can get this up without butchering the whole thing. Bring her right here. And I scrolled down on this article because I was reading it because it was funny. We'll get to her here. So we have the Minerva Board of Education is discussing a trap shooting club. And so obviously we're trying to be as heavily involved in this as we can. There's some, money that we're going to try and raise, some funds that we're going to try and raise. We got some stuff, scheming in the back of our heads to try and get these kids some cash flow so that they can start shooting. We'll be coming out with some of that kind of stuff. fundraisers and things like that as best we can. The fellow that's kind of spearheading this, Kyle Lucas, he visited the Minerva Local School Board's education on February 18th. He's pitching the idea of a trap shooting club that will take place at the Sportsmans Club, which we're trying very hard to get going down to the Minerva Sportsmans Club. We have an open club. We have lots of room, 2 trap houses, a huge clubhouse. We'd love to see these kids down there filling the space and having a good time and, good wholesome fun. Everybody knows that they can have, cause all kinds of ruckus in this day and age. But anyway,
with another local team in the area, it'd be fun to, be able to,
yeah, kind of get a little friendly competition
get some
going.
events going with each other.
So this goes on to say that the club would be exclusively at the Sportsman's Club. There will not be any guns on school grounds, obviously. Carrollton's running a club, and the Ohio State Highway Patrolman is running the club events. Clay pigeon shooting, the cost is going to be about $250 per student for the uniform, course, safety training, and shotgun shells. That's the part we're trying to look at fundraisers. We're looking at between 50 and 80 kids who've already expressed interest in this. So if you're looking at $250 a kid times 50 kids, that's a massive amount of money. So we would really like to, and if anybody out there's got some ideas, if you have a local business you want to try and do some sponsorship, we're going to be sending that kind of stuff out too. But in any event, we're going to try and do some fundraising. That's kind of up in the air at the moment. We don't know that.
I have a contact at Winchester. Let me reach out to them and see if I can get them to donate some ammo.
Okay. That would be awesome.
In fact, I will send him an email now.
Nice. It says here the Sportsman's Club will donate the clay pigeons. That's not entirely correct. The Sportsman's Club isn't going to make any profit on the clay pigeons, but part of this fee, this $250 a kid, is going to be going toward purchasing the clay pigeons through the Sportsman's Club account so that we get a better deal on them. If the Sportsman's Club had the funds to donate the clay pigeons, we absolutely would donate the clay pigeons for these kids. But as it stands right now, until we do some fundraising, we don't have that. So I want everybody to be clear on it. Lucas stated that 35% of the students are athletes, and options like this give others options for competition. You're looking at grades 9 through 12, and a safety education course is mandatory. What kind of safety education course we're going to be doing is, or they're going to be doing is up in the air yet. We've mentioned to them that we would, donate shotgun courses and course materials and time and instructors and stuff like that. So, once again, that's all, stuff that we're going to have to buy outside. Students providing their own guns. They're checked by the advisors. All matches will be on Sunday. There will be one instructor for every 5 kids. Lucas stated many adults are in favor and are volunteering to be instructors. That's another thing that we got rolling back in the back of our heads. We do have abilities to train instructors the proper way, so we may be asking some of these guys to actually go through some instructor orientation and courses if they're willing to do that, and essentially add a level of professionalism to this trap club for these guys that is not in a lot of them. So we got a lot of ideas for this. We're excited to see it happening, and I think everybody that's even heard about this is working hard and really looking forward to seeing something like this take place. It's been a long time since anything like this has been around, and it would be pretty awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Getting the youth involved in any, kind of shooting sports, especially a sport, kind of like trap, which is, getting a slimmer and slimmer following, but getting the youth involved and getting them involved in, shooting and doing it the right way, in a safe way, and, teaching them all them things that, I mean, and I shot trap in high school, and it was just a blast.
Yeah, it's
So,
a fun game. The kids have a riot doing it, and there's any one of these kids can have a knack for it. So I hope we get as
and
many
what
kids
a lot
as
of people
possible.
don't know is there's scholarships available. There's national teams. There's a lot you can do with that. So
Yep.
There is.
a lot of people think of it as just this hobby that costs money. Well, yeah, it can be, but depending upon how far you want to take it, you can actually do stuff with this, with it.
Absolutely.
So
There's a ton of stuff going on with that. If that one hits you, you want to, kind of proliferate information, maybe volunteer. You got a business, you want to put some money toward it, let us know. We'll point you to the right people so that you can get involved in the program. The bad news, like Mike mentioned earlier, we have 6 dead, including a gunman in a shooting at Miller Coors building in Milwaukee. I pretty much had one article about this. I don't know a whole lot about it. It says here the suspect died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. The employee allegedly killed 5 people when he opened fire at the Miller Coors building in Milwaukee, the company said in the statement. The suspect then took his own life with a self-inflicted gunshot. Police Chief Alfonso Morales said at the press conference, 5 people, all employees of the companies, were found dead in the building. Police said no one else was injured. The company's CEO expressed deep sadness about the shooting. The most important thing is that we support and care for each other, Gavin Hattersley, the CEO, said. The suspect is a 51-year-old man from Milwaukee. So that's pretty much what we got. It's a tragic day for your city, a tragic day for our state. Milwaukee Mayor Tom Barrett said at the press conference Wednesday night, 6 families actually are grieving. It's a time for us to think about these families. Officials said they would not identify the victims until the families were notified. Our problems with this particular thing is most of the time these incidences result in more deaths because really the only way to stop a bad guy with a gun is with a good guy with a gun. You have to meet at least equal force. Maybe Miller Coors should talk about having a security team or a program to kind of avoid these type of situations. Concealed carry is a big
I don't know where.
way to stop this. I don't know how to really describe this at the moment, but I think everybody on both sides of the firearms issue, and no matter what your political leaning is getting really tired of this crap. Like,
Yeah.
how about we, for once, how about we have more Texas incidences with the exception of we don't want any innocents to
Right.
get injured with it.
Yeah.
We just want the bad guy to go away. So, that's what we want.
people start acting like people again and not just being all just wackerdoodle.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's about it too.
Right. The
Crazy.
it's a crying
If
shame.
you have to solve all your issues with a gun, that's a bad day for everybody.
How many times do we mention in a month that not all problems are nails and not all problems require a 10-pound sledgehammer to fix?
Yep.
I mean,
No.
I say this is a failure of our education system, but I like to blame a lot of stuff on those people.
Yeah.
So anyway, keep those families in your prayers. Hopefully, things go well for them. The next thing we got up is a court case here. Should it be legal to carry an unloaded gun while drunk in Ohio? And I think this is a misleading headline. We got this from the Alliance Review.
Wait. Are you saying a news outlet created a misleading headline? What?
I wouldn't put it past them. They've been known to do that from time to time to get views and clicks. So
That's almost like the government telling the truth. Or presidential candidate, Democratic presidential candidate.
yeah, I don't think that's military intelligence. It's the
Yeah.
first thing that comes to mind there.
Yeah, exactly.
So anyway, this says, do you have a right to hold an unloaded shotgun in your home if you're drunk? That's the question the Ohio Supreme Court justices unpacked during oral arguments Tuesday morning. We've been kind of previewing to this case for a while. And I think if we go back and look at some of the older articles, these guys are not giving us all the information. We're not getting all the information behind this. The case was brought by Frederick Weber of Felicity in Claremont County, who argued that his Second Amendment rights were violated when he was convicted of using weapons while intoxicated and sentenced to 1 year probation. On February 17, 2018, Weber's wife called 911 and said her husband was drunk and had a firearm. When Claremont County Sheriff deputies arrived, Weber's wife said everything was all right and Weber had put the gun away. Then the deputies saw Weber holding a shotgun by the stock with the barrel facing down. Weber told the deputies that the gun was not loaded and he was going to wipe it down. According to deputies, the gun indeed wasn't loaded, but Weber admitted to being drunk, smelled of alcohol, and slurred his words. Weber appealed his conviction to the 12th District Court of Appeals, but lost. His arguments in the Supreme Court: people who own guns should be able to consume alcohol, even excessive amounts, in their own homes without fear of criminal charges. What you want us to say here is, in the home, whether you're sober or not, whether you've got a gun that is loaded or not, there is no law that is broken, Chief Justice Maureen O'Connor summarized. That is correct. Weber's attorney, Stephen Palmer, replied, assuming the gun is lawful and the conduct is lawful. O'Connor replied, imagine the ramifications that kind of an opinion would have. Palmer suggested a way to bring Ohio's law in line with the Second Amendment and the state constitution. A person could be charged with using a weapon while intoxicated in her or his home if they were committing another crime such as domestic violence or assault. But Claremont County Assistant Prosecutor Nick Horton argued that state lawmakers have the right to place reasonable restrictions on gun access. At least 27 states prohibit individuals from carrying firearms while intoxicated. I want to pause right there. The prosecutor isn't the man who gets to place reasonable restrictions on anything.
No.
Those have got to be brought forth to bear by the legislature. Not only do we have 968, which precludes anybody but the legislature from making gun laws in the state of Ohio concerning this, but the legislature is the one who is responsible to the people, and they are also held accountable to the people if they do something that we don't like, by means of we vote them out of office. Not the county prosecutor. He's not the guy that makes the laws. This is playing judge, jury, executioner in this prosecutor's way of thinking. The landmark U.S. Supreme Court decision, District of Columbia versus Heller, noted that law-abiding, responsible citizens had the right to have a gun in their homes for self-defense. But Horton said carrying a gun while intoxicated isn't responsible behavior. So people who drink are responsible by nature, Justice Melody J. Stewart asked. No, not necessarily, Horton replied, comparing the situation to someone driving impaired. Just as someone who is drinking to a point of intoxication is not necessarily irresponsible, someone who's driving is not irresponsible. But someone who is drinking to the point of intoxication and driving is irresponsible. 6 cities, including Cincinnati, Columbus, and Akron, filed a friend of the court brief in support of the Ohio law banning the use of firearms while intoxicated. Attorneys for those cities argued that their residents and police officers would be put at risk if the law couldn't be enforced. I ask this. If you have had a few drinks, maybe a few too many, because if some buds are over and you're watching a football game, and they go home and then somebody decides to break into your house later that evening, you defend yourself. Is that irresponsible behavior? Does the intoxication play into the part of making you responsible or not? Or was it about your actions during the incident in which is called to question? I think we shouldn't even be we should be arguing in this case on this fella's behalf. I don't think we have all the information, but I think on a case-by-case basis is where this should be decided. Was the person acting irresponsibly because of the intoxication, and did they break the law with their firearm? If they did not,
Why is he charged?
why is he charged? Why did this man's wife call to begin with? Was he breaking the law, or was he threatening her with that to begin with? Or was she just pissed and wanted him to put the gun away? I.e., we go into the red flag law area of suspicion with this particular case through a back door.
Yes, absolutely.
It's kind of my question. What did he actually do?
I don't.
Nothing.
That's the thing. That's the part of the information that I think they're not telling us is what did the guy actually do? Personally, I don't think he did anything. I think his wife was pissed at him and called the cops.
Well, and part of this too is I could sit and list off a bunch of people I know that, you know, Friday night, Saturday night will be completely responsible and sit in front of the TV and clean a gun and drink a beer.
Right. Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
the thing. Who decides what level of intoxication is unacceptable?
In your own home.
In your own home.
In your own home.
Right.
And that's the thing. It's been
That's
ruled
right.
time and time again that you can drink as much as you want as long as you're home. I guess the defining factor would be, does somebody need to call an ambulance because you're going to die over it?
Well, the other thing is that they've already stated that the gun was unloaded.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a threat
Yeah,
to
that's
anyone.
what I'm trying to figure out. What conduct was he engaging in that was illegal?
I don't know, and I don't think any. But
And that's why I think that making blanket statement type laws like that and interpreting things in a blanket way is just asinine, because it takes away the discretion to judge, as you said, on a case-by-case basis.
Right.
that's 100% agree. Absolutely 100% agree. If being irresponsible isn't illegal. I mean, being irresponsible,
Well, if it were, there'd be a lot of people in prison right now.
well, exactly. But you think of, if you're intoxicated, you fall down the stairs. Well, that was irresponsible. You broke a leg.
But you're gonna get arrested for endangering your wife, who was standing at the bottom of the stairs.
I don't know, but if the guy, if he was just wiping down the shotgun or fiddling with it or something like that, he didn't have any ammo in the area. He wasn't pointing it at anybody. He wasn't threatening anyone. Where's the irresponsibility?
Right.
He was actually responsible. He was just drunk.
Yeah.
I mean, it is possible to be drunk and responsible, not very often, but and not.
Well, there's probably 1 million people tonight that are gonna go out, they're gonna have a few, and they're gonna call an Uber home. They're gonna be responsible
and drunk.
Yeah. So I don't.
Well, the other thing that I just thought about was, what if you substituted that shotgun with a walking cane of some substantial size?
Yeah. I mean, there wasn't
How
any
does that
ammunition
work?
in it, so essentially it was
basically
a walking
the same thing.
Yeah, it's just a club.
It's just a club.
I think this is bordering on the ridiculousness, and I think the problem is the Supreme Court's got to take this because the man's already been convicted and he's on appeal. So if they don't take it, then they set the precedent that this is acceptable.
Yeah.
But if they do take it and send it either back down to the lower court because they feel that they're in error, or if they vacate his conviction, that's pretty much the only way that this gets resolved.
Yeah.
By saying, and if we can read the brief when they're done with this, and I'll try and dig it up and read it, put something out about it, is they're going to have to literally say that this has got to be a case-by-case basis, and what did the man do that was illegal to prosecute him in the first place? You can't prosecute him for being drunk with gun. Like, that's not on the books. So
Yeah.
I think the prosecutor's just making shit up, really.
Yeah, that's kind of what it sounds like.
This guy's stuck in a bad situation. His wife was pissed at him, and the prosecutor's making shit up. So that's my take on it.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Sucks. We got this special report here. Ohio overdose deaths on the rise again, exceed 4,000 in 2019. And I brought this up because obviously we're in the defensive business. We're talking about concealed carry all the time. We're talking about keeping our families safe and stuff like this. So I wanted to kind of highlight the cities in the first part of this article, if I can find it. Greater pace in March. So the deaths soared in Northeast Ohio, Canton, Akron, and Warren, especially in the first half of the year. This area had some of the lowest overdose death rates the previous year. In the second half of 2019, Central Ohio experienced a sharp increase in overdose deaths. So I wanted to highlight that this is in our backyard. And if we really look into crime statistics and things that happen, a vast majority are drug related. So this is absolutely up our alley, and this is one of our root causes of crime and violence in our area. So, getting rid of the drug use and the drug proliferation that has pretty much taken over most urban areas in the last, I don't know,
3, 4, 5 years.
Yeah, I think it's been going on longer than that, but
Yeah.
it is what it is. So,
I saw an article on MSN the other day where there's a school somewhere in the United States that has third graders, a special program for third graders in school to learn how to administer Narcan.
really,
What are you talking about?
yeah,
It's like,
that's-
oh my God.
that's ridiculous. Let me see if I'm typing. I'm trying to reply.
Unfortunately, that's the world we live in.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
like,
I think-
man.
I think that's very unfortunate. I really do. I would like to see our young people and our folks in the area do something productive with their lives and succeed, rather than be in a drug rehabilitation program or not succeeding in life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
All right, so I got this cool article, and it's kind of a long one. I don't think we're going to read the article in its entirety, but I got this from Tier 3 Tactical, and 25 gunfighting stats learned from convicted cop killers. And we all know that the FBI does go through and interview criminals about, different things depending upon what they're in jail for. I want to point out some stats here. So this article is going to be an in-depth look at the stats related to some of the worst criminals, the cop killers. And this is done by the stats are compiled by the FBI. This guy goes on to say it was his job to provide threat analysis regarding current tactics, techniques, and procedures about the enemy. This would be something like, with a few differences. Obviously, criminal gang members and murderers aren't like the Taliban. The Taliban like to date goats, but there's a surprising amount of commonalities between the two groups. And he's got a picture of a good-looking goat here, I guess, according to the Taliban. So, and then there's a link to the analysis, which is pretty cool. Get rid of the stupid ad. So, the average victim officer, 98% of these guys were male, 2% were female. Their average age is 35, height, weight, 5'11", 197 pounds, so they're not little guys. 90% of them were white that were killed. Their education was 50% had a high school diploma, 50 had a college degree. He goes on to say the officers were older and a little bit more experienced. Vast majority of these cases were against officers in uniform, which was 42%. The rest were detectives and plainclothes assignments. Here's our offender characteristics. Predominantly males who were previously arrested numerous times, sometimes as many as 10 times over. 95% male, 5% female. Their average age was 26 years old, so almost 10 years younger than the victim of the officer. 51% white, 49% non-white, so it's not a race thing. Size is 6 foot, 175 pounds, so similar size. Education, 14% had a high school diploma, 4% had a college degree. So vast majority undereducated people. The offenders' backgrounds are universally terrible. They grew up in broken homes, on drugs, crime was ever-present factors in their life. Many of them were thrown out of their homes during teenage years. So this just goes into play of what's going on. Most of their criminal histories were quite lengthy. The average age of the first offense being 11 years. 9 years old for gang members for their first offense. That's deplorable. I think of my kids. 12 is my youngest one. I cannot imagine. Most often committed larceny. Most were not punished for the first violation. Most were regular drug users. Large chunk, 43 offenders reported gang affiliation. Approximately 10 of those 43 were veterans of the U.S. military. So this is the first thing I want you to remember. And then the second thing is, during the interview process, the investigators questioned the offenders on their previous crimes and received astounding numbers for crimes that they could not find arrest records for. So it's got a whole list of crimes here which they were not prosecuted or caught for. So they're a lot more active than previously reported. Lend some insight into why they're so willing to commit crime. They're rarely caught for it. It goes on to give you
especially when they're juveniles, they're rarely punished.
Well, this is true.
Not a lot.
There's an excerpt from a interviewee. There's a couple things in this article that he would like to highlight. The willingness to use violence in furtherance of their own and gangs' goals is chilling. So in this offender, they talk about where they would go to random street corners or drug corners and they would do drive-bys and different shootings to get everybody on the ground so that they could steal their stuff. If they got up, they would shoot them. And they would steal anything, drugs, cash, shoes, coats, whatever it was. The offenders talking about murdering huge numbers of people with no appreciable concern that this kind of behavior is not normal, because this is a good thing to point out. To them, this is normal behavior. You got to remember, they've grown up with this kind of stuff. The event where these offenders actually attacked the officer, time frame, approximately 40% of the murders occurred during evening hours. The event types were disturbance calls and in-progress crimes, and then during arrest. The most common assault location was in the road. But that one was the one that struck me the oddest.
Traffic stops.
And I think Nate is right. Probably traffic stops play a part of that. Other present. In approximately 40% of the incidents, there were other officers or other persons present. So there was more than one person at the scene. These people were willing to attack and kill an officer with either more than one officer at the scene or an officer and civilians at the scene to identify them. Mm-hmm. Just goes to play to their mindset. And what our mindset's got to be to win no matter what they think they're going to do to you.
Can you do me a favor, put a link to this out in the chat?
Sure can. I'll do that right now. Oh, for Pete's sake. Hit the wrong button. Here we go. Got it now. Link in the chat. Weapons. This section covers the type of weapons used by the offenders, the caliber, and their previous experience with them. And this is one of the most interesting parts of this article. The most common weapon was a pistol. Most common caliber, 9mm. I expected that just because 9mm is essentially the most common pistol caliber there is. Most common areas of concealment, front waistband, crotch, and small of the back.
Appendix.
Appendix carry for most of them. 18 of 50 officers had been in previous shootings. So 18 of these 50 officers that lost their lives in the line of duty had experience in gunfights. 16 of the 43 offenders had received weapons training. What? 16 of 43 of the offenders.
I said 10 of so many of them had been in the military.
Yep.
Right.
So we know that the national average for people who come to a concealed carry class or a basic class to get their in-state permit, only 2% of them ever advance beyond that. Let me tell you, folks, the criminals are doing a better job than you are.
Yeah, no kidding.
So,
But look at the hit rate percentages.
exactly.
That scares me.
I read an article years ago. I think it was actually in Guns and Ammo years ago about them talking about criminals and the fact that the criminals are practicing. Just because they're criminals doesn't mean that they're not. They're going out, they're practicing. They're doing the same things that we should be doing.
Yes. And I think it goes on to say in here it talks about the hit percentage. So 37 of 43 offenders regularly carried their weapon. Carry your gun if you're legal. They are. Why aren't you?
Pants on, guns on.
Exactly. Hit rate offender on officer, 68%. Hit rate officer on offender, 39%. That's atrocious. And now it does go on to explain that the reason, or one of the reasons behind the higher hit rate offender to officer is they start shooting first.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. So as you're taking gunfire, your hit rate's going to go down, obviously. But you would think it would be a little closer. That's a wall of
and especially in the last several years with how bad the police departments have been hammered on with all these excessive force and why'd you have to shoot them, and
yes,
every choir boy that ends up shot by them that's got a 12-page arrest record for the last 6 months.
Yeah. Exactly.
They're essentially forced to wait until they're being essentially, as you can see it, they've been shot and are dying before they're allowed to actually return fire.
Yeah.
It's essentially our society is,
or at least that's the mentality
going that way
that they're having. Average range 15 feet. Most common offender shooting method, point shooting. They made no attempt to use their sights. No attempt whatsoever. I don't know how many times
that's for them being 68% and point shooting. That's practice.
15 feet.
That's a lot of practice.
That's practice with their firearm. There's no other way about that. Percent of legally acquired guns used by the offender, big old goose egg. They did not legally acquire any of these firearms. And this guy goes on to say, these are some fairly startling statistics. I wouldn't say this is fairly startling. I would say this should be a wake-up call to a lot of the public out there.
Like it said something up there about these types of dirtbags don't practice.
Have any training.
This is patently false.
Yep. They have others in their gang teaching them methods that work on the street. Don't forget those that served in the military. And I told you guys to remember that. The guys that served in the military at least had some training, so they know at least the basics, and then they can proliferate that to the rest of their members. They bought their guns off the black market. The offenders had a higher hit rate because they almost always shot first. Many of these criminals have learned that aggression and violence are the key to survival. They're not constrained by laws or others' welfare. If they hit a bystander, they couldn't care less, which we are constrained by the welfare of others. We're responsible for every round fired. So, but they're still responsible. They just don't care. We care, they don't. That's the difference. Morals. Offenders stated they didn't attempt to aim. They simply pointed the weapon and shot. They stated their goal was to initially disable their victim. If they wanted to kill them, they could do so much easier after wounding them. So, initial violence and surprise and speed, just like a military tactic, absolutely works. They know this. There's good research showing that inexperienced shooters can point shoot very accurately at close distances. At 15 feet, it's a little harder, but that's the average distance. I wonder what the closest and farthest distance is. He didn't give us those specifications. Many of these stats are in line with a previous article that covered the 17 most important gunfight stats. That is a good article to read. Go there and check it out. The study highlighted there were several cues that these criminals were armed that the officers failed to pick up on. They reported the offender would often blade their weapon away from the officer, would touch or readjust the weapon to assure themselves that it's still secure. No criminal in this study used a holster. So, that's key points to look for. If somebody's blading away from you or is continually touching one spot on their body in their waistband, they probably got a weapon in there. This highlights the fact we aren't going to win this encounter with pure gunfighting skills. I don't know how many times we hammer on this. You got to turn the head on before you turn the trigger finger on. The fight's going to be won prior to shots being fired. Time and distance and planning is what's going to win you that gunfight. Skills help. Skills are
like
important.
the video we saw earlier.
Absolutely.
She didn't win that by gunfighting skills because she didn't have to pull the trigger at all. She won that by situational awareness, which is exactly what this is talking about. These last two paragraphs are the two most important in the entire article.
Yep. Absolutely.
Brain power. Brain power. That's what it is.
So that's what it is. And Mike is 100% right. Situational awareness, planning, time and distance, these are all tactics that go into the gunfighting. Once you're into the gunfighting, put rounds on target. One trick I find helps me stay alert, especially during shifts as a police officer, is the gun game. Sorry, I don't have a fancier name for it. He goes on to say, watch people and see if they show cues of having a weapon on them. You should be watching your surroundings anyway. I'm not saying super paranoid, keep 27 feet away from me. You have to have a life too, but you should be taking an eye of what's going on around you every few seconds.
Well, and go up a little bit. One thing here I read in the next paragraph up, like what he was talking about with, like they were talking about touching their weapon. This guy goes on there. He says, when he gets out of his truck, he always pulls his shirt over his gun, and he touches it, make sure it hasn't moved from the holster. Criminals do the same.
Yeah.
Pay attention to those things, those little idiosyncrasies that you do as you concealed carry. Yeah, and those are kind of the things, like he's saying, those are the things that you look for, is those little things that you do constantly, they're doing the same thing. So when you see people, start paying attention to the things that you do.
Yeah.
And when you start seeing other people doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Yep. Watch for somebody that's hitching up their belt.
What's that, Mike?
Watch for somebody that's hitching up their belt,
Yeah,
pulling their pants up to make sure their belt's up where it's supposed to be. Chances are there's something pulling it down.
But here's the defining factor I'd like to point out. If you spot a holster, it's probably not a criminal.
A good guy.
Yeah. None of these guys in this article used a holster. Mm-hmm. The writer also goes on to say he would recommend staying away from dangerous neighborhoods if at all possible. Most metropolitan areas have criminal databases that the public can view. He's trying to use a law of averages to stay out of the high crime areas. You can't always do that. You may live there. You may have family there. You may work there. So just use the law of averages to the best of your knowledge and see if you can figure it out. If you're from the area, most everybody knows where the high crime areas are anyway. So lock your doors, keep your head on a swivel. You know, buddy system. There's a ton of resources for that kind of stuff. We could go on all night about this one article. I thought that was really good. I wanted to.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, that is
Really highlight
really
that.
good article.
So we are over time. I think we pretty much covered the product of the week with all of our stuff we got going on there.
Yeah.
Some good chat going on out there. I want to thank everybody for stopping by and listening to our show. We could have, spent our Friday evening doing something else, but you chose to come here and listen to us blab for an hour, I guess, about the same old thing. I want to thank Mike from Budget Guns and Gear Reviews for stopping in. We always like to have him on our show. He's got some very good insight. If you want some good review stuff, you want to go check out a really cool YouTube channel, head right on over to Budget Guns and Gear Reviews. Mike, I think you're on Facebook too, right?
Yep. I'm on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Gun Streamer. Full 30 coming soonish.
Did you get your full 30 account activated?
Not yet. I'm working on it.
You got any idea how? I've been working on that for 6 months.
Go hang out in the forums and be active in the forums is what I'm told. So that's what I'm doing.
Oh, okay. I don't have time for that, so
yeah.
But
that's what I'm doing. So
anyway,
3 jobs.
Can also find me at my website, www.budgetgunsandgear.com, and I also write for gearreport.com.
All right. Sweet. All right, guys. Everybody, thanks for stopping by, and enjoy your weekend. Stay safe, and until we see you next week.
have a good night.